Panthers praise Browns QB Shedeur Sanders for his impressive preseason debut. The Carolina Panthers had to hand it to Shadur Sanders. Friday night's preseason opener at Bank of America Stadium played host to the rookie quarterback's unofficial NFL debut. And Sanders, perhaps the most high-profile fifth-round pick in recent memory, didn't disappoint in the Cleveland Browns' 30-10 victory. Panthers head coach Dave Canales was asked what stood out about Sanders between Wednesday's joint practice and tonight's game. "Very impressed," Canales replied. "Extending plays when he had to, getting the ball out of his hand quickly. I thought he did a great job of not sitting there in the pocket to see what was going to happen. He either took off and extended and made some plays with his legs, or he got the ball out quickly to a check down. So I was just really impressed with just the way he operated out there and really kept himself pretty clean for the most part." Sanders got the start under center after injuries sidelined fellow Browns quarterbacks Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel. He took advantage of the opportunity, completing 14 of his 23 passes for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers. A few Panthers players also praised Sanders for his performance. So maybe Sanders was worth more than a fifth-round pick after all. They had come into the preseason opener with their own agenda: sharpen the pass rush, test the secondary, give Bryce Young a few comfortable drives, and send the Cleveland Browns rookie quarterback into the kind of welcome to the NFL haze that often comes with facing an experienced defensive unit. But by the end of Friday night, instead of shaking their heads at a Greenhorn's mistakes, the Panthers' locker room was buzzing with unexpected admiration for one Shadur Sanders. The first drive. The first time Sanders jogged onto the field, wearing that crisp white Browns away jersey, the stadium still hummed with curiosity rather than expectation. Everyone knew the headlines: coach's kid, college star, rookie. But what unfolded over the next few minutes shifted the entire tone of the night. Facing a 3rd and long on his very first series, Sanders stood in the pocket like he'd been doing this for years. Panthers edge rusher Brian Burns came screaming off the left side, but instead of panicking, Sanders calmly stepped up, eyes scanning downfield. With a smooth flick of the wrist, he delivered a 17-yard strike to his tight end right between 2 defenders. The crowd, and a few Panthers defensive backs, turned their heads as if to say, "Wait, he completed that?" Poise beyond his years. What the Panthers noticed most wasn't the arm strength, though Sanders had that in spades. It was his patience. Linebacker Frankie Louvu said afterward, "Most rookies, you hit him a couple of times and their clock speeds up. This kid, nah. He kept his eyes downfield like we weren't even there." Even on plays where the Browns' offensive line faltered, Sanders didn't bail out too early or force dangerous throws. His movements were measured, deliberate, like someone who had already studied every possible defensive look the Panthers could throw at him. A message in the huddle. One of the more telling moments came early in the second quarter. The Browns had just been flagged for back-to-back penalties, setting up a 1 SD and 20 deep in their own territory. A rookie quarterback might shrink in that situation, leaning on safe checkdowns to avoid a mistake. Sanders? He walked into the huddle, looked his teammates in the eyes, and said, "We're taking this back in 2 plays." Sure enough, a 12-yard slant and an 8-yard curl later, the chains were moving. Panthers safety Xavier Woods admitted post-game, "We were like, dang, he called his shot. That's leadership. You don't see that from a rookie very often. Not just flash, fundamentals." There was no single jaw-dropping highlight that overshadowed the rest. Number 70-yard bomb into double coverage or off-balance miracle throw. Instead, Sanders stitched together a night of fundamentals so clean it was hard to nitpick. He completed 14 of his 18 passes, racked up 162 yards, and most importantly, didn't turn the ball over. The Panthers' defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero praised him in the post-game presser. "You can tell he's been coached well. He makes smart decisions, gets the ball out quick, and doesn't give you freebies. That's what makes a quarterback dangerous, not just the big plays, but the way they avoid bad ones." The respect factor. NFL locker rooms have a sixth sense for authenticity. Veterans can tell when a young player is all talk, and they can tell when someone has that real, unshakable belief that doesn't need to be shouted from the rooftops. Sanders never chest-bumped after a completion, never pointed at the scoreboard. He just walked back to the huddle, helmet down, already processing the next snap. Panthers cornerback J.C. Horn summed it up with a grin. He's got that quiet assassin vibe. The kind of guy who smiles at you in the pre-snap read and then drops a dime over your shoulder. A learning moment. Not everything was perfect. Late in the second quarter, Sanders took a sack on a disguised blitz he admitted afterward he should have recognized. But even that misstep impressed the Panthers. Burns, the one who brought him down, shared. I got up, gave him a little welcome to the league pat, and he just laughed. Said, "Nice one, won't happen again." That's how you know he's different. Some guys get mad, some guys lose focus. He turned it into a lesson before the drive was even over. True to his word, the next time the Panthers showed a similar pre-snap look, Sanders checked into a quick hitter that neutralized the rush for an easy first down. Family name, individual game. Part of the intrigue around Sanders, of course, comes from his lineage. Being the son of Dion Prime, Sanders means every snap is scrutinized twice as hard, once for performance, and once for how it compares to the legend attached to his last name. But Panthers veterans came away convinced that Shedeur isn't leaning on the family aura. Defensive tackle Derek Brown said, "You can tell he wants to build his own story. He ain't out there trying to be flashy or live off the Prime name. He's out there because he can ball."